From the bottom of my heart to welcome each and every one of you to this Science Academy's lecture workshop on Emerging Vistas in Plant Sciences, sponsored by Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore. I am very glad to say that our department has obtained from a grant from the Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore for the third time to organize Science Academy's lecture workshop to promote basic science education in rural areas. The importance of plant science has now been realized more than ever before, especially in the context of conservation and sustainable utilization of plant resources. The main focus of this lecture workshop is to aim at the generation of new knowledge which will lead to the demonstration of interdependence of plant systems and their interaction with the global environment. Emphasis will be given to innovative, novel findings of wide biological significance, new ideas, multidisciplinary and translation.
A beautiful life doesn't just happen. It is daily built by prayer. Let us all stand for Kamalkai Baltu.
Adil
Leaders have become great, but because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Here we have such a leader who is none other than our college principal, Dr. A.R. Pon Periyasamy, to deliver the welcome address. I welcome you, sir.
Very good morning to one and all gathered here. On behalf of Nehru Memorial College, as a principal of the college, I do hereby welcome the distinguished speakers, guests, delegates and the students who have come from different college to grace the occasion of two-day lecture workshop on emerging vistas in plant sciences, sponsored by Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore, Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi, and the National Academy of Sciences, Allahabad. The Department Botany, Nehru Memorial College, is going to organize this program. It is my privilege to welcome the most honorable chairman of our college, Professor M. Puthanampatti, who has been our great inspiration for us and leading us in successful way. Welcome you, sir. It's my immense pleasure to welcome the young, dynamic, enthusiastic and most supportive personality who is none other than most respected president of our college, Engineer Pan Balasubramanian, who has been giving moral support and motivation to us to walk in the great way. Welcome you, sir. I am very proud to welcome the convener of this workshop, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, CSIR, Emeritus Scientist and INSA Honorary Scientist, Bangalore, to be on the dais. Welcome you, sir. I extend my warm welcome to our resource person and chief guest of today's function, Dr. K.R. Shivana, INSA Honorary Scientist, Bangalore. Welcome you, sir. I am very happy to welcome our resource person and chief guest of today's function, Dr. R. Uma Shankar, INSA Scientist. Welcome you, sir. I thank you for having accepted our invitation to be part of this event and also enrich their knowledge. I extend my warm welcome to Dr. Mr. Meenakshi Sundaram, HOD Department of Botany, organization. It's my duty to welcome the teaching faculties of this parent department and other departments of our college. I would also like to welcome the non-teaching staff of this department and other departments. I am very sincere to welcome the governing body members who have given their active support to organize this lecture workshop. Last but not least, I welcome the entire participants from other colleges and our college who made today's function a grand success. I hope this two-day program will most useful, most helpful to the student communities in the development of plant sciences. I wish you all success and I request the student communities to make use of it and come with the new ideas in future. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request our college chairman to honor our chief guest, Dr. K.R. Shivana, INSA Honorary Scientist, Bangalore. request our college chairman to honor our guest Dr. R. Umashankar, INSA Honorary Scientist, Bangalore. Thank you, sir. Now I request our college principal, Dr. A. Pon Periyasamy, to allow a shout to our college chairman, Sri Ponnamalaya. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. M. Meenakshi Sundaram, coordinator of this 2-day science lecture workshop, to allow a shout to our college president, H. Pon Balasubramanian. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. S. Amarnath Pandian, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, to honor our college principal. Thank you, sir. In almost anything, it is not what you want, but it is your commitment to what you want which will make the difference. When one is emotionally and intellectually committed to a principle, so that he is willing to share his life for upholding his principle, the sheer intensity of his commitment will make life adapt to him. The above said words is highly horsed with a man who is none other than our college chairman, Professor M. Ponnamalaya, who has dedicated his entire life for the upliftment of this college. Now I welcome Ayya to deliver the presidential address.
Good morning. I am very glad to welcome the 3 eminent scientists from Indian Academy of Sciences. It is the first time that great scientists from Bangalore have come here to discuss, to conduct the workshop on emerging vistas in plant sciences. I am very glad that Dr. Raghavendra Rao has come all the way from Bangalore to take up this workshop successfully. He is an eminent scientist and he has already come here to our college to conduct the INSPIRE program. And he is very particular about punctuality. He came here at 9:55 and he wanted to come and come to the stage at exactly 10 o'clock. So we have come here and we have assembled. But unfortunately, the principal was held up in another function. And on behalf of the organizer, I extend my excuses for the delay in starting this function. The chairman's first duty is to inculcate the scientific trend in the participants here. What is the emerging vistas in plant sciences? Vistas nu சொன்னாக்க தொலைநோக்கு பார்வை. நம்முடைய பிளான்ட் சயின்ஸ் பாட்டனியில தாவர இயல்ல என்ன தொலைநோக்கு பார்வை, அதை இப்போது ஆராய்வதற்காக இங்கே நாம் கூடியிருக்கின்றோம். அதை பற்றி டிஸ்கஸ் பண்றதுக்காக சயின்டிஸ்ட் ஃப்ரம் இந்தியன் Academy of Sciences, Bangalore, Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi, and Indian National Academy of Sciences, Allahabad. இவர்கள் எல்லாம் சேர்ந்து இந்த ஒர்க் ஷாப் நடத்துவதற்கு ஆரம்பித்திருக்கிறார்கள். அந்த வகையில் இது நிச்சயமாக உங்களுக்கு நிறைய பண்பாட்டை கொடுக்கும், நல்ல வழியை காட்டும், தொலைநோக்கு பார்வை மிக நன்றாக தொடங்கும் என்று நான் நம்புகிறேன். இந்த சமயத்தில் நான் பிளான்ட் சயின்ஸ் படித்து ஒரு முக்கிய தொலைநோக்கை உங்களிடத்தில் வைப்பதற்கு ஆசைப்படுகின்றேன். நாம் தண்ணீரை எல்லாம் மாசுபடுத்தி விட்டோம். இப்போது நாம் இயற்கையாக இருக்கக்கூடிய காற்றையும் மாசுபடுத்திக் கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். We are polluting the air. We are polluting the air. And we can save the earth from pollution only by plants. Only by plants. By growing trees, by growing suitable plants. In all over world, due to air pollution, 90 lakhs people have died in 2015. And in India alone, 11 lakhs people have died because of the air pollution. Why? Because the air is polluted with nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, ammonia, aluminum. இந்த பார்ட்டிகல்லாம் ஒரு ஏர் குவாலிட்டியில் எவ்வளோ இருக்கலாம்னாக்க 10 அணுக்கள் தான் இருக்கலாம், 10 தான் இருக்கலாம். ஆனால் நம்முடைய சென்னையில் 221 இருக்குது. தீபாவளி அன்னைக்கு 480 ஆகிவிட்டது. பட்டாசு வெடிச்சதுனால ஏர் பொல்யூஷன் 480 பிஎம்ஆ மாறிடுச்சு. டெல்லியில தினமுமே 430 இருக்குது. டெல்லியில அவ்வளவு பொல்யூஷன். இதையெல்லாம் காப்பாற்றணும்னா ஒரு பிளான்ட் இருக்குது பெங்களூர், மூங்கில் பிளான்ட். அது என்ன பண்ணுதுன்னாக்க கார்பன் டை ஆக்சைடு அப்சார்ப் பண்ணுது, நிறைய ஃபார்மால்டிஹைடு அப்சார்ப் பண்ணுது, பென்சீனை அப்சார்ப் பண்ணுது. அன்சோனியம்னு ஒரு பிளான்ட், அதுவும் டாலியம், சைலன் இது போன்ற மாசுக்களை அப்சார்ப் பண்ணுகிறது. நாம இனிமேலுக்கு ரோடு ஓரத்துல எல்லாம் மூங்கில் மரம் வளர்க்கணும். மூங்கில் மரம் வளர்த்தாக்க அந்த கார்பன் டை ஆக்சைடு எல்லாம் அப்சார்ப் பண்ணிடும். ஸோ we have to think in far ahead to reduce the air pollution, and only the botany scientists can emerge with the technicality, find out some more plants which will absorb the pollution in the air. I am very confident that under the leadership of Dr. Raghavendra Rao, this workshop will be very successful, and the participants will be enlightened, will be enthusiastic, and they will learn the necessity of the plant sciences and the emerging vistas which are coming in plant sciences. I wish the function a grand success, and I thank the Indian Academy of Sciences to have selected Puthanampatti for this purpose. Why? Because Puthanampatti is surrounded by lot of plants, especially in Poli Hills. Poli Hills, you have lot of variety of plants, and in and around Puthanampatti also variety of plants are available, and you will have to study each and every plant which will be useful to the society, which will be useful for reducing the pollution in the air. I am very thankful to Dr. Raghavendra Rao for selecting Nehru Memorial College for conducting this workshop. Thank you very much.
And they live by what they hear. Such people become a legend. This verse goes with a person who is our college president, Engineer Pon Balasubramaniam, whom I call upon to felicitate the gathering. I am delighted to offer.
Chairman of our college, Professor Puthanampatti, Chief guest of today's morning inaugural function, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, resource persons from INSA, Bangalore, Dr. Shankar, Dr. K.R. Shivana, principal of our college, Dr. Pan Priyasamy, convener of this program, Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram, professors from the department and other departments and faculties from other institutions, and my dear participants. I am very happy to see that Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram has taken effort to organize an excellent program on emerging vistas in plant sciences, which is the need of the hour. As Chairman pointed out earlier, we have already polluted our water. Even today, when I cross Kaveri River, I see people dumping all their garlands, old garlands and other things in the water. Old habits die hard. But now it is time we should change. You are all the young people who are going to save our water resources and our plant resources. So I appeal to you to educate the people, to change the culture of throwing all unwanted things into drinking water resources, especially. Gone are the days, during yester years, when the population was very minimal, we felt that disposing it in the water is an easier way, but now we scarcely have some resources of water and other essential resources. So we have to save every bit of resource to ensure that the future generation lives happily. So to this trend, this workshop has been organized. Dr. Raghavendra Rao sir has already come to our institution and he is a very eminent personality. He has motivated young children to take sciences as their career, and I am sure he will enthuse every one of you here to take active participation and research activities in the emerging trends in plant sciences. I wish the function grand success. I wish the workshop a grand success and initiates a lot of thought processes in your young minds. I congratulate our principal and the convener of this program, Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram, for successfully organizing this function, and I wish every one of you be benefited and set your career to a greater height. Thank you very much.
Knows what to do it, and success is doing it. Here is a man with maturity, ability, wisdom and skill, who is none other than our today's chief guest, Dr. R. Raghavendra Rao, IMSA Honorary
I
Scientist.
welcome you to deliver the inaugural address.
No need of any introduction, okay, very short. Secretaries sitting on the dais and students and teachers from various colleges, students and also teachers from various colleges, as has been just now told by the President and Chairman, that this is our third visit. Yes, it is my third visit to this college in the same connection again for the lecture workshop. I do not know how much of our lectures are useful to you, how much these lecture workshops have helped you in your own science promotion activity. But by the very fact that this college is interested to conduct for the third time shows, I think, there is some positive response, positive reaction from you. So therefore this college has come forward. To that extent I am very happy and also thankful on behalf of the academy and on behalf of myself for taking up this responsibility of organizing the lecture workshop in a very remote place like Puthanampatti. It's a very remote place, mainly meant for the rural students. Yes, science should reach the rural students. I think that is one of the main activities of the academy, and therefore I am very happy to come to this Puthanampatti for the third time. But in one respect, I am not very happy. I want to tell you this also. Last time I very well remember, last time when I had come, a very similar show was made and giving shawl and all that. That time very specifically told, let us not spend money on this kind of shawl or mementos or anything because it doesn't give anything towards science. Let us not waste this money. But I very clearly told at that time, this money can be diverted towards one of the poorest of the poor students. If there is any poor student, this money should be given to. I think I had told this last time. Meenakshi Sundaram also, I have told him repeatedly, we should not spend money on making shows like this. Let us use the money for the poor students, at least develop. But yes, again, as I did in the last time also, now also I will accept with all humility your love and affection is there in the shawl. It may not be the shawl, but it is your love and affection. I will take that love and affection with me and go home. Coming back to the lecture workshop. Now you may be thinking, why the academies are spending money? Why are we organizing the lecture workshop? In all the places, in different places, in your college also we are spending. Now, is there any purpose? Yes, there is a very strong purpose. Now, you may be aware that some statistics were obtained from different agencies during the last few years to measure the level of science in the universities in this country. Out of 100 best universities in the world, India did not figure in that. It is shameful for all of us. We all should be ashamed to say that we are not figuring in the best 100 universities in this world. Our Honorable Prime Minister, our Modi ji, a few weeks back, he was giving a centenary lecture in the Patna University. I hope some of you must have seen the TV. Now he was mentioning that not out of 100 universities, but out of 500 universities, India is not figuring anywhere. Is it not the most shameful day for us that to say that we don't figure in 500 places? So then where do we stand? What is our science? There are so many institutions, so many universities in this country, where we always boast that some of the laboratories are in no way less than the laboratories of the USA, all that we boast. But when we compare ourselves with other countries, with other nations who have achieved much beyond us, really we cut a very sorrowful figure. Is it not a very bad day for us? Is it not a sorrowful thing for all of us? So I think we should very seriously worry about this. And this is exactly what has happened at the national level. All the science academies, all the funding agencies, whether it is DBT, DST, Ministry of Environment and Forest, all the science academies today, they are all diverting much attention towards promoting science in this country. So that is the main purpose. The academies have come to promote the cause of science. We want to enthuse the young scientists, young minds towards science so that they should become good scientists. They should contribute very significantly towards the scientific achievements in this country. So that is one of the purpose for which we have all assembled today here. So therefore, it is not simply a lecture that a session that we come from different places, you deliver some lectures and you are also to sit here because you may not have any option. So you will sit for 8 hours, 4 hours and listen to what our speakers speak, and that should not happen. I think we should all be very attentive, try to understand what we say and what is the purpose. That is at least 50% of what we say. If you understand, is it also, that is also justified. And that I assess by the number of interactions you show, how much of interactions you show with the resource persons. Now after the lecture is over, even during the lecture, if you do not understand, please raise your hand and say that I do not understand. We are very glad to elaborate and clear your doubts. So the purpose is that you should understand. What we speak, you should understand. The motto behind our lecture. It may not be a classroom lecture, which syllabus-oriented lecture, what we speak, but then we would like to inspire you, we would like to give some instances where science science has created a revolution in this world. So you should try to understand and feel the pulse of such instances so that you should take up science. So the main purpose of this lecture workshop is not to cover your syllabus oriented topics. Yes, if there are some syllabus oriented topics also, we are very glad. But the main purpose is to inspire the young minds to say what you call to enthuse the young scientists to take up science. And I want that every one of you, as much as possible, interact with the speakers. Let us speak less. In fact, we may not speak for 1 hour. Even if I speak half an hour I expect interaction from you. That will be more important than me speaking. I hope you understand this. The academies, as I said, a number of programs they have taken to promote the cause of science. It is my duty as the convener of this lecture workshop to mention 1 or 2 important programs. I think last year also I have mentioned the programs of the academy, but since many of you may be new, even some of the teachers are also new here I am seeing. So therefore, for the benefit of such students, let me repeat what I said last year also. The academies have a number of programs to promote science. I want all of you to see the websites of all the 3 science academies. It is not only one academy, Indian Academy, it is jointly sponsored by all the 3 science academies. You should go to the website and see what are all the programs available for your sake. All the academies are interested in promoting science through young minds like you. So it is for you. A number of programs are there. One program is this, for which we have all assembled today. That is the lecture workshop. Under this program, some 4 resource persons will come from different parts or different specializations and discuss some aspects of science. All the local college teachers, students from different nearby colleges are also invited so that they also should get the benefit. So that is the purpose. The expenditure connected with this, the travel of the resource persons, the food expenditure, today and tomorrow's food expenditure, all that related to this workshop will be borne by the academy. That is the lecture workshop. Any college can do. Science academies have no bias in selecting either Puthanampatti or Trichy or Coimbatore or any college you can submit to the academy without any bias. The academy approves and we will come and do the needful. So that is number 1. The second one is there is a refresher course for teachers. I think if there are some young teachers, it is only for the teachers. The refresher courses are for 2 weeks program. It is on an identified theme. We cannot select any, in some of the lecture workshops, some refresher courses I have seen during the last few weeks. Some refresher courses were organized, but it was nothing but an extended lecture workshop. I think that should not happen like that. I think if you want to organize, if your teachers want to organize, please make it a point that it is a theme oriented. If you select molecular biology, only molecular biology. If you select plant taxonomy, only plant taxonomy should be discussed. Nothing else. It is not all the subjects you cannot cover. So such themes you should select and conduct for the teachers drawn from all over the country. It is not from Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh, but all parts of the country. The teachers are invited and given very intensive, not only the lecture programs, but also practicals. Every day there will be practical program, so that if the teachers are trained, they will go back and train again hundreds and hundreds of students in the coming years. So that is the purpose. The academy is supporting the refresher courses for 2 weeks. Again, all the expenditure connected with your stay, you come all the way from different teachers coming from different places. Your stay, travel, your entire expenditure will be taken care of. Not only that, every participant, if you are selected, 1,500 rupees worth of books and literature will be given to you, and also you will get some money to go around and enjoy. There is also another program the science academies are supporting, that is the summer research fellowship. I do not know whether any of your college students have applied. If you have applied, it is good. If you you have not applied, I think next year you should try your chance. Under the summer research fellowship, it is all young students and teachers, particularly the BSc, even the MSc students, not PhD students. So you can apply, go to the website and get the details. Normally the advertisements come in the month of say October or so, and the selections will be held in the month of December. During this year, only last week, not even last week, 3 days or 4 days back, we had a meeting and we selected the candidates. When the program started from the academy, this was it started with a dozen candidates, dozen fellowships. So all the fellows who applied got selected. Today, in 2017, I am talking 2017 and 18, the applications that we received goes to somewhere around 5,000 applications. You can imagine how popular this program is. It started with 10 or 12 applications. Today we are getting 5,000 applications, and it is extremely difficult for us to select the candidates because we have a limited number of fellowships, and to select that we have to do a lot of exercise. So therefore today it is more competitive than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. 10 years ago it was very easy, everybody would get selected. But today getting summer research fellowship is extremely difficult, and for that you should always discuss with your own mentors or your teachers and try to put up a program that you will be able to complete in 2 months' time. We expect a good write-up, good program, a novel program, novel research program that you can achieve in 2 months' time. That kind of program you should give and identify any mentor, or even if you do not identify a mentor, it is okay, but your program should be very good so that that program you should apply and that will be scrutinized, and if you are selected it will be good. In case you are selected, suppose you want to work with a person in Calcutta, yes, you can go visit that laboratory, work with that person, and for 2 months you go around the lab, try to know what is going on in science in your own area and what remains to be done, so that you will get some enthusiasm to do your own work. And your expenditure will be taken care of by the academy again. All your travel, your stay, your food, everything will be taken care of. In addition to that, you will also get your pocket money of some 10,000 rupees so that you can go around again, spend the new place, enjoy the new place. You should enjoy also and do science also. So these are all the programs that is arranged by the science academies. I have only given you the highlights, but I want you to see the websites of all the 3 science academies for the details. There is lastly one more program for the teachers, the young teachers. That is the science education panel in the science academy has a database of all the teachers of the universities and colleges. Suppose your name is not there, I think you should write to the academy and get enlisted. That's the problem. And from out of that database, every year the academy selects some 100 teachers for taking part in the mid-year and the annual meetings. I think that's a very important thing for the teachers, so that you will get ample opportunities to go spend 3-4 days in that during the mid-year and annual meeting and discuss with all the fellows what is happening in science, what can be done, in which direction we should progress. All that kind of, you get an opportunity to discuss. Please don't miss all these kind of opportunities, which is all for you only. It is all for you. That means for promoting the cause of science. With all this, science in our country is not promoting, as I said, it's a very pathetic situation today. With all this, science is not progressing. There are many reasons. One reason is the social evils, which I call social evils, which I will not talk. Either me or you, at this juncture we cannot solve this problem. There are many social evils. The other one is, of course, which we can solve ourselves, is this, that we should develop a good set of teachers who can enthuse the students towards science. I think that's the main thing. Unfortunately, many of our teachers in the colleges and universities today are not able to do this. Because there are also again many reasons. They are all interested to cover only the syllabus. They have got 8 lectures, 10 lectures, I should cover the syllabus. And they are all busy in completing their own stuff. So this has become a monotonous type of thing, so that the science is not progressing. The other reason is, of course, you all know, now in this room, how many girls are there, how many boys are there, you can see. I don't say girls should not take. I am very happy large number of girls are taking science, and Tamil Nadu particularly was ruled by lady for a number of years. I think that's a good. But most of the time what happens, all these girl students after their degree get married, forget science, and science ends at that time. So therefore that should not happen. I think take it as a challenge. You are in no way less than the boys. I think that challenge you should develop and develop science. Make use of all these programs that are available to you and then take up science. I shall be very happy. Out of such a huge gathering, 10 people emerged at the end of the day, 10 people or even 5 people. The exercise that we have done is justified. The entire amount that is spent by the academy is justified. So therefore, please take this as a challenge and see science at least takes up, if not now, in 1 decade's time, India becomes at least, if not the first position, at least the number 10, at least in the 10th position, India should stand and make us proud. All of us should feel proud. Small countries like Singapore, South Korea, they are all appearing in 100 best places, but India is not coming. I think we should all take it very seriously and do something for promoting the science. Lastly, I think time is very less. Lastly, I would like to thank this college for organizing this lecture workshop, particularly Dr. Meenakshi Sundaram. Every time, the moment I go back to Bangalore, sends a mail that I want to organize. I think the academy now, knowing this, that they have also put a class now that in 1 financial year only 1 lecture workshop will be organized now. So this I want to tell it to Meenakshi Sundaram, that if you are interested, only next year you should apply, not now. Anyway, but that shows his enthusiasm, his interest in organizing the lecture workshop. So I thank Professor Meenakshi Sundaram. I must thank the resource persons, particularly Professor Shivanna, who is the senior most among us here. And Professor Shivanna is a living legend, I will say. He is in science. He looks very simple, looks very ordinary, but he is a person with ocean of knowledge. He is a wonderful person. I think you will listen to his talk. At the age of 77, he travels all the way from Tumkur by his car. He comes to Bangalore and travels with me everywhere, wherever I organize a lecture workshop. I invariably put Professor Shivanna's name. He will never say no. This you can imagine. He will never say no. Whenever, whether it is in Puthanampatti or you go to Kanyakumari or Tuticorin, corner of the country, he always comes. He travels in car. You should appreciate his interest in science. And from my heart, I very profusely, I want to thank him openly. I want to thank him very openly. I have the highest regard for Professor Shivanna because of this character. I would also like to thank Professor Uma Shankar. Of course, Uma Shankar, many of you already know. He is one of the very good speaker. During this talk, we will all see. And he is also a very busy person. And yesterday he has come from, I do not know, Baroda or somewhere, and tomorrow he is going to Kolhapur. So, among the busy schedule he has come, I express my thanks to Professor Shivanna also. And there is one more resource person, I do not know, he has not come here, and he is from Coimbatore. So from my behalf and behalf of the academy, I would like to thank the new professor. The program is okay, whatever has been circulated, I think you must have seen this, and there will be a slight change now. First lecture will be delivered by Professor Shivanna now. Second lecture will be given by Professor Uma Shankar. Again, third lecture will be given by either Uma Shankar or Professor. These two persons will give two lectures today, and tomorrow I will give the lecture. And because this change I have to make, because Uma Shankar wants to go today itself, so therefore we have slightly made the change. So with all this, I want to thank at the end all the students. I think all of you are sitting here. I must thank very profusely because your teachers have an option. All the teachers have an option. If you want, they can go out. But the students have no option. They have to sit here. For all the 4 hours, 8 hours, they have to sit here. And sitting and listening is more difficult than talking. That you should understand. Talking for me 8 hours may not be difficult. But if you want me to sit and listen, somebody talking, very difficult for me. So therefore, I must thank very profusely all the students for taking up this lecture workshop. God bless you and bring a good name to your teacher, your college, your parents and ultimately to science. Thank you so much.
During the lecture or after the lecture, you can ask question in Tamil, one of your teachers can translate and I will be happy to answer and elaborate to make you understand. Now what is pollination? Now before I go to pollination, can you switch off these country group? This light is too much. Anyway. Now all of you at least you know the flower, right? So in the flower, there are 2 essential structures, sexual structures. These are the stamens and stamens, they are anthers, and these anthers produce pollen grains, which are the male partners in sexual reproduction. And it also, and subsequent development of the seed and fruit, the first thing that happens is pollination. So pollination simply means the transfer of pollen grains from anthers to the stigma of the flowers. And these pollen grains may come from the same flower, or they may come from another flower of the same plant, or they may come from another flower which belongs to another plant of the same species. Okay? So this is simply pollination with the transfer of pollen grains from the anthers to the stigma. Did you understand this now? Now this is a prerequisite for fertilization and subsequent fruit and seed development. If there is no pollination, there is no fertilization, there is no fruit set, there is no seed set. So pollination is the primary step in sexual reproduction. Now after pollination, what happens is the pollen grains, these are the stigmatic papillae tips, these are the pollen grains, they germinate on the stigma. After germination, pollen tubes goes through the tissues of the stigma and style and eventually they enter the ovules. These are the female, they are comparable to the female partner of the flower, and inside this ovule there is called female gametophyte, and this varies, number of cells and other things varies in the female gametophyte, and one of the cell is the egg cell which is shown here in the red, and the other cell is central cell. These 2 cells are there in any type of flower, the embryo sac, whichever plant is there. Now once the pollen tube enters this female gametophyte, where the egg and central cell is there, it discharges the 2 male gametes inside the embryo sac. So out of these 2 male gametes, one of them will fuse with the egg to give rise to zygote, and the other will fuse with the central cell to give rise to primary endosperm nucleus. Now the zygote will develop into the embryo, the primary endosperm nucleus will develop into the endosperm surrounding the embryo, which is a nutritive tissue, and the seed will develop, the ovule will develop into the seed, and the whole ovary will develop into the fruit. That is how sexual reproduction takes place. So as I keep on emphasizing, fertilization is the first step if you want to get any fruit set. So these are some photographs to show pollen grains germinating on the stigma, then the pollen tubes going through the style in this region, and this is the embryo sac in which the pollen tube has entered, and then of course it will discharge the male gametes, then the gametes and fusion and all those things. One has to cut sections to understand and all those. So we have understood now what happens during fertilization. after fertilization, how the fruit and seed set results. Now what is the importance of this fertilization now? Now in the coming decades, we have to face two major challenges. All of us have to face. These are the most important challenges we have to face. One is, we have to increase substantially the crop productivity. That means fruit production has to be increased to feed the growing million, because our population is increasing steadily, whereas our fruit productivity is not increasing proportion to the increase in the population. So one of the challenges in the coming decades is that we have to increase food productivity. Okay? Now the other challenge is we have to sustain and conserve our plant diversity, because now everybody is talking about biological diversity, because these human activities are threatening the very survival of biological diversity. So unless we conserve and we sustain whatever biological diversity is there, then we are going to get into serious problems. These are being realized throughout the world, both these problems, and it is all serious attempts are being made to take up this challenge suitably, particularly in the Western countries, whereas we are lagging behind in tackling these two major challenges. Now, if you want to improve or increase crop productivity, that is food production. Now, after fruit production, you have to go back to the flower. The flower are the ones where the fruit production is there. Now, again, as I told you, pollination takes place. After pollination, fruit and seed development will be there. Now, again, as I told you, if there is no pollination, then you don't get fruit and seed cells. Okay? So, if you want to achieve crop productivity, or if you want to improve crop productivity, you have to make sure pollination takes place now. If there is many problems with pollination, then you can't get fruit cells or seeds. Now, if you want to contain, sustain and conserve plant diversity, what else? Just development of fruit and seed is not enough in these wild plants. Some of these fruit seeds have to get dispersed away from the parent, and then some of those dispersed seeds have to germinate, and some of the seedlings which result, they have to establish and grow into adult plant. That means there has to be a recruitment of new individuals to sustain population. So whether you want to sustain biodiversity or whether you want to increase crop productivity, you have to make sure pollination takes place. That is one of the most important things, pollination. If there is no pollination, neither you can increase food productivity, nor you can sustain biological diversity, particularly post-plant diversity. Now, pollination is important not only in these routine things, but also if you want to introduce a crop from one area to the other area, then if it is a pollinator-dependent crop, then you have to make sure if you are introducing a crop to any other area, that pollinator is there. I will come to that one, what are the pollinators and so on. If there is no pollinator, again, even if you introduce the crop to another area, you don't get fruit and seeds. Now this is one of the examples. Oil palm. You know oil palm? It is basically an African crop. And long back, as early as 1870, this crop was introduced to Indonesia and Malaysia by Britishers. And its native country, Africa, it is pollinated partly by wind and partly by a small insect called weevils. Now these weevils are not there in Indonesia and Malaysia. Although plants grew very well and established very well because climate was very favorable, but there were no pollinators, the yield was very low. Then after a lot of research, they introduced weevils into Indonesia and Malaysia. When once they introduced, there was a jump by 20 to 50% in yield. So this shows how important the presence of pollinator is. So whenever people think of introducing a crop from one area to the other area, they have to make sure that pollination is sustained in the new area. And this has been introduced into a lot of tropical countries, including in India. In Kerala and Karnataka, they are grown because it fetches a lot of money, the beans. So here we don't have in-crossing bees to bring about pollination. So all the vanilla that is grown in our country and many other countries which has been, where it has been introduced, it has to be through manual pollination, because labor will be trained to go to the vanilla field and bring about manual pollination, then only you get this vanilla bee. So just whatever is the means, you have to make sure pollination takes place if you want to harvest the fruits and seeds. So now you know what is the importance of pollination. Now another thing, you know, genetically modified plant, because there is a lot of controversy about the release of genetically modified plants into commercial cultivation. So far in our country, only BT cotton will be released, which is genetically modified. A few years back, genetically modified mustard was ready, but still the government has not yet taken decision. There are lots of controversy. Why people are hesitant to release the genetically modified plants for commercial cultivation? One of the main reasons is that these introduced genes into this commercially genetically modified plant may escape to the wild through the pollen grains. Suppose if you are introducing a herbicide resistant gene into a mustard, by chance this gene escapes into the wild or weedy species, and this escape can take place only through the pollen grains. So the pollen grains may land on the weeds, and those weeds by chance they get fertilized, then weeds will become herbicide resistant, and that will lead to chaos. So that is one of the major concerns why people are apart from health concern. So this again, pollination is important to study, because it is only through pollen these genes can escape to the wild. So that's why the persons who, or the company who want to release these for commercial purpose genetically modified plants, they have to collect a lot of data about its pollinator and pollination, how long the pollen grains remain, how long the pollen grains are spread for just 100 meters or a kilometer and so on. So a lot of data has to be collected before the regulatory authorities are satisfied to say that it can be released for commercial cultivation. So I hope now I have made it important, the importance of pollination. Now, how does plants achieve pollination? As you know, plants are sedentary. That means they can't move from place to place. So they can't carry their pollen grains from one plant to the other plant by themselves. But as I told you, pollination is so important if they have to reproduce sexually. So what they have done is, they have outsourced this function to other agencies. Now what I want is that don't bother too much about writing down the notes, because all these slides are available to you. We will leave these slides here. You can copy these slides, you contact your teachers. So what I want is all of you listen carefully and understand, and notes you can make from those slides. Outsource this pollination service to other agencies. These agencies, one is important, one is animals, the range of animals they have outsourced, and the other is wind, and the third is water. So these are the agencies which have been outsourced to bring about pollination. So the plants have been outsourcing this since they originated about 110 million years ago. Only now you have become familiar about outsourcing only in recent decades, after this one has come in. Now about 90% of the flowering plants use animals to achieve pollination, remaining to achieve pollination. So today I will be concentrating exclusively on animal pollination because that is the one which is creating problem now. So those plants which are pollinated by animals are called biotic pollinators, biotic pollination, whereas the other one is abiotic, wind and water. Now, if they want to use animals for pollination service, what all they have to do? After all, plants, animals don't come to the flower just to bring about pollination. There is no charity. If the plants want these animals to visit flowers, they have to give something in return to the plant, animals. So that means they have to provide some rewards to the animals to attract them consistently. Not only they have to provide rewards, they have to advertise the presence of these rewards. So they have to advertise for whatever animal is there that here is the reward, it is for you to come and harvest the reward. But the third requirement is they have to arrange the stamens and the stigma. I told you the beginning because the pollen grains have to be transferred from the anthers to the stigma. So they have to arrange their sexual organs in such a way whenever the animal comes and visits the flowers, pollen grains have to be transferred from the stigma, from the anther to the stigma. So these are the three basic requirements. If the flower has to achieve pollination by any animal, how do they do it? As far as the rewards are concerned, of course, there are some variations and all that. Basically, pollen grains, every flower produces pollen grains, and they are rich source of nutrients. Pollen grains, some of the pollen grains are utilized for transferring the pollen grains to the stigma, and majority of them is utilized for their own consumption, whether it is insect or some other animal. So pollen grains is one of the important reward. The other is, in many of the plants, nectar. Nectar, you know, nectar is nothing but the sugary solution which is present at the base of the corolla tube, and this is another reward. These are the two major rewards. Okay. Now, how do they advertise the presence of these rewards? Now, the advertisement is of two types. One is visual. The animals can see. That is the enormous variability in the color, the shape, the size, and so on of the flowers. You know, such a range of variation is there in the flowers. So this range of variation will advertise the presence of these rewards. So the animals, by experience, they know if this is the shape of the flower and if this is the color of the flower, they will find the reward, so they go and visit that flower. And the other type of advertisement is, most of these plants, they emit species-specific fragrance. That means they give out smell. And these pollinators can recognize the smell and they know that here is the reward. So these are the two types of advertisements in most of the flowering plants. Now the third is the arrangement of the stamens and the pistil. Here is a bad pollinated flower. I am sorry, there is too much of light. You can't see. Here you see, this is the ovary, and this is the style, and this is the stigma, and these are the anthers. The nectar is present here. And this redded region is a long tongue which that has inserted to lift the nectar. And look at this one, the stigma is touching the forehead and the anthers are touching the forehead and releasing the pollen grains off the forehead. So when it moves from this flower and visits another flower, the pollen transfer takes place. Because this region, pollen grains will be there. When it goes to the next flower and the stigma touches this head, forehead, the pollen grains will get lodged on that. So this is another one, Aradhoda vasica. Here carpenter bee is harvesting the nectar. We can see the anthers have released the pollen grains on its wings and the stigma is touching the area where the pollen grains are there. So this is the third arrangement. You imagine, for example, if this stigma happens to be on this side and the anthers happen to be here, then you can't assume pollination. So during evolution, the flowers have arranged their sex organs in such a way that pollen transfer takes place whenever the insect or whatever pollinating agent comes in contact with the flower. Okay? Have you understood now how the pollination? It is a very briefly, in fact, the amount of information on pollination is enormous. Even before Darwin, the pollination has been worked out. Darwin, of course, they have worked out extensively on pollination. So pollination by animals is mutualistic. That means both of them will get benefit. It is like a biological barter. So the plants will exchange their resources to the services of the pollinating services. So it is a sort of exchange. There are lots of plants which will cheat the animals. That means they advertise the presence of reward, but they don't produce any reward. So animals visit thinking that there is reward, but they will be cheated, but they bring about pollination. Similarly, there are many insects or any other animal which will harvest the reward without bringing about pollination also. Of course, today I am not going into those details because my objective is very different. Now, as far as crop plants are concerned, today of course I am concentrating on crop plants, about the productivity of the crops, the food, other pollination. As I said, most of the crop plants are pollinated by insects. Out of these insects, these are the 4 orders: Puthanampatti, which includes beetles; Diptera, which includes flies; Hymenoptera, which includes bees, wasps and ants; and Lepidoptera, which includes moths and butterflies. These are the major groups of insects which bring about pollination. Okay. Now, what type of plants are dependent on pollinators? What type of plants are not dependent on pollinators? Now here, luckily cereals, all our rice, wheat, whatever cereals are there, they are not dependent on pollinators, fortunately, because all of them are pollinated either by wind or to some extent they are self-pollinated without help of anything. So pollination of these cereals is no problem because they are pollinator independent. But most of the others one, whether they are legumes, whether they are oil crops, whether they are fruit crops or vegetable crops, all of them, they depend on pollinators. Now cereals largely provide carbohydrate nutrition to humans, whereas most of the proteins, vitamins, minerals which give the quality to the nutrients, they come from legumes, oil crops, fruit and vegetable crops. And all of them, or most of them, are dependent on pollinators for said fruits and seeds. This is just a photograph of some to show these are all dependent on pollinators, fruits mostly. Now according to the FAO, the contribution of pollinators to global food production is estimated to be about US dollars $500 billion. You can see how important it is the pollinators are. So as I have been emphasizing, unless there is an adequate pollination, whatever else you do, whether you dump fertilizers in the crop or whether you irrigate it very adequately, unless you take care pollination takes place, they are not going to help anything. So all other things will come to be effective only when once the pollination is sustained. So that is the importance of pollination. Without pollination, you can't get anything else, fruits and seeds. So historically, nobody bothered about pollination because pollination used to be performed by wild insects present on and around the agriculture fields, around the crop field. In fact, in India, even now also, nobody bothers about pollination, most of the farmers, because many of them may not even be aware that pollination has to take place. The farmers, when once his field is in flower, he expects after 1 week or 2 weeks there will be fruits there without knowing what exactly happens between pollination and after pollination. Now, although in India people are not being concerned about pollination, whereas in Western countries the farmers have been very conscious about the need for pollination of their crop plant right from the beginning. And they started experiencing limitation of pollination or pollination constraint in some of their crops as early as 1940s. Since 1940s, that means about 75 years back. So why in 1940s, earlier there was no problem, but afterwards, since 40s, they started having the problem of pollinators. That is because of the mechanization, they started following monoculture system of crop production. Monoculture means, what is the problem with you people? Now you keep on giggling. If you want to giggle, you go out. If you want to be here, be serious. Because it distracts the speaker. So because they started monoculture system. Monoculture system is earlier what used to be, each crop used to be grown for a couple of hectares, and then next crop was to be different, and next crop used to be different. Then it used to be a border by non-crop species and so on. But because of the mechanization, they extended the crop hundreds of hectares. Same crop was grown for hundreds of hectares. Now these are the photographs of monoculture cropping. Here you can see the mustard, this is the sunflower. You can see as long as you see, nothing but mustard, and as long as you can see, nothing but sunflower. So here, when the crop is flowering, there is such a large number of flowers, billions and billions of flowers, and you can't expect insects which are present under natural conditions. So many flowers cannot be pollinated. So earlier, because different crops used to be grown and different insects used to be the pollinators, there were no problems. But now, when once they started following this monoculture cropping system, then they started having the problem. Now, how did they overcome? Because they were very conscious. When once they realized that this is the problem, then they did a lot of research to find out what are the pollinators. Then they came up with the idea. They started using managed pollinators. Managed pollinators means you can multiply those, you can manage them in the form of hives. So honeybees, different species of honeybees are the managed pollinators. So they started using honeybees to bring about pollination in their crops. So this was started in USA as early as 1940s, and soon in USA it became a regular practice. Subsequently, of course, it was extended to most of the Western countries because as they also started monoculture cropping system. Now, it is in all those countries, even next year, what they want to sow, the farmer will enter into a contract with the beekeeper, and they elaborate everything, how many honeybee colonies he needs, when he needs, how long he needs, what is the amount he will pay for the beekeeper, everything contract is there. Then the beekeeper will bring them those at the right time, keep them in the farmer field. When once the flowering is over, he will take them and take them to some other shop and so on. So it has been a regular practice. So these migratory beekeepers, they carry these honeybee colonies in huge trucks, and these honeybee colonies will provide mobile pollination services. They are mobile pollinating units. So they can take the honeybee hives and keep in the field. They come out and visit the flowers and bring about pollination. I will show you some photographs later. Look at this Of course, now it has gone down because of some problems, but even now, 2.5 million honeybee colonies are rented every year for pollination services just in USA. Now these are the three important managed pollinators they use: Apis mellifera, Apis serena and Apis florea. Out of that one, Apis mellifera is the most important European honeybee. You imagine, until the Britishers took these honeybees from Europe and other countries, North America and South America, they did not have honeybees at all originally. Now they have become so dependent on these honeybee colonies for their pollination services, they can't live without these honeybee colonies. In fact, this renting these honeybee colonies for pollination services has gone to that extent. The main income for the beekeeper is not by selling the honey, but by renting these honeybee colonies for pollination services. So renting, by selling the honey he gets very limited amount, but by renting these colonies for pollination service he gets much more. Now these are some of the crops: almond, apple, pear, clover. There are about 14 crops in which they have to use routinely these pollinators to perform pollination service. Otherwise they don't get the yield at all. Now this is one of the most important crops in which managed pollinators are used, almonds, in California. Now 80% of the almond production in the world comes from California alone. That is a major crop in the world. Now this is an aerial view of almond orchard. You can see all of them are flowering, hundreds and hundreds of hectares. Now this is a close-up of one of the almond orchards. You can see all of them are peak of flowering. And the previous year itself, the orchard owner would have entered into a contract with the beekeeper, and at the right time, the beekeeper will bring these honeybee colonies in these trucks and keep these honeybee colonies in this orchard according to whatever number they have already signed, and the pollination service, of course, will be done by these honeybees. Now just I want to tell you, the largest managed pollination show on earth takes place on these almond orchards in California. You see the statistics. There are about 800,000 acres of almond orchards in California alone, and they need 1.6 million beehives at the rate of 2 hives per acre. Out of these, only 25% are available in California itself. The rest, 75%, have to come from different parts of USA. So this almond flowers sometime in February. So during February, all these honeybee colonies, as far as from Florida and this northeastern part and Texas, all those honeybee colonies will come to California, and once the pollination service is over, then they go back to different crops wherever they are needed. Now because due to various diseases and so on, the number of managed honeybee colonies available is going down and the demand is increasing. So because of the high demand and less availability, look at this one. Just a few years back, the rental value of honeybee colony for each crops was only $50, but about 2-3 years back, it rose to $150. If you want to rent one honeybee colony, you have to pay $150 to the beekeeper to keep that one during 2 or 3 weeks in your field. Now this is just often to show how important these trees to keep the honeybee colonies. So this fellow has kept the honeybee colonies, he has good harvest. This fellow has not kept and he is crying because he hardly has any crop. Now of course, honeybees are not good for all the crops. Without going into details, for tomato for example, honeybee cannot do effective job because it needs bigger insect. It has to shake the flower to bring about pollination. So here, bumblebees are the effective pollinators. So now under field conditions, of course, bumblebees will do the job to some extent. Bees also will bring about pollination. But in Western countries, most of the tomato that comes to the market, they are grown in glass houses because the environmental condition outside is favorable only for a limited period, maybe throughout the year. And most of the tomato will come from the glass houses. Either they are cool or they are heated. Now inside the glass house there are no bumblebees. So how do you think about pollination? Because without pollination you don't get fruit. Now this is how they used to bring about pollination. So they used to do mechanical pollination. These things, I don't know how it happened. This they used to call magic wand. This is a battery. There is a long stick operated by a battery. The job is it vibrates. The stick vibrates. So it shakes the flower and pollination is brought about. So they used to shake the flowering twig. Every day they are going to the glass house and use this magic wand to bring about pollination. Because at that time, until 1980s, bumblebees were not domesticated. But in 1980, a Belgian company, they domesticated the bumblebee. Okay. Then once I think there's a bank or some problem, otherwise I'm okay. So when once the bumblebees were domesticated, then they started using bumblebees to bring about pollination in the glass house. So it saved cost, time and effort. Now, this was 1940s. But since 1980s, these pollinators, they started having additional problems. Not only the managed ones, but also the wild pollinators. That is because the extensive use of pesticides, that is one of the major problems. Then habitat loss and degradation, that is fragmentation, invasion of alien species, pollution and so on. Then of course climate change. So these are the three factors which are affecting these pollinators, both naturally wild pollinators as well as managed pollinators. Now these problems are increasing in intensity over the years. They are not steady, they are not going down, they are increasing. Now in addition to this one, these honeybee colonies are suffering from a number of diseases, particularly because of the pesticide effect and so on. Now, a large number of papers have come up both in USA and Europe to show that these natural pollinators are going down in the natural habitat. The density and diversity of pollinators are going down, and that is affecting the efficacy of natural pollination. And if there is no natural pollination, then of course those plants which are dependent on these pollinators will get reduced and eventually they will become extinct. So when people started thinking in terms of global pollinator crisis, this is important because throughout the world there seems to be a problem with pollinators, this global pollinator crisis. So when once they realize if pollinators are going to be affected, then there is going to be a serious problem both in crop productivity as well as in sustaining biodiversity, particularly plant diversity. So a lot of international initiatives were started. Out of that one, I don't have time to go into all that. One of the latest one is this one called Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. This was established in 2012. Its main mandate was, they got hold of all the experts in pollination biology. They said, whatever papers have been published, then you collect all those, study it very critically, and then compile scientifically credible and independent up-to-date assessment of available knowledge on pollination and pollinators so that the countries can make informed decisions at the local, national and international level to see that the pollination crisis is not going to be serious. Okay? Now they took about 4 years to compile all these things. So the report was published only last November, 2016 November. Now it's a big report, I just selected a few points. It confirms the decline of pollinators wherever it has been studied across the world. They say definitely the pollinators are going down. They are coming down in numbers and the number of species and so on. And it emphasizes that food and nutritional security depends on sustaining and enhancing pollination services. They show unless we sustain and enhance pollination services, we are going to have great difficulty in sustaining food productivity. And also it highlights, more importantly, lack of data on wild pollinators and pollination in many developing countries. This includes India also. We don't have any data at all about what is happening to our pollinators under natural habitat. It underlines urgent need for long-term monitoring of pollinators and pollination in these countries to take suitable steps to sustain pollination services. This is some of the important recommendations this report has highlighted. So now, pollination crisis is a fact. It is not just a perception. So now you can't say, oh, some people are telling that one, it may not be true. It is definitely true. And it is going to affect not only in Western countries, it is going to affect India badly. Unless we prepare and do the required things, we are getting into serious problems. Now Western countries, the people are so susceptible. They have started manufacturing these pollinated drones, in an experimental scale. Last year, one of the Japanese companies called Nanomaterial Research Institute, they have come up with a drone to bring about pollination in the laboratory scale, of course. This is a drone which is functioning. You can see it is flying around the lily flower and collecting some pollen grains, and when it goes to the next flower, of course you have to manipulate individually by hand. Then they have shown experimentally it can release the pollen grains onto the stigma in another flower, and this they have kept reverse. This way the pollen grains are collected. They have put some animal hairs on the back of this just to mimic the fuzzy body of the bee, and also they are using some special gel to stick to the pollen and release and so on. This of course is still a very preliminary idea, but what it shows is the seriousness about the Westerners, about this is going to be a serious problem. We have to start now. It may take another 10 years to become commercialized, or it will take another 50 years or 15 years. So, but they have initiated the proper research on these lines. Now, I just spent 5-10 minutes about what is happening in India, what is India's scenario. If you have heard any agriculture scientists in the country, they keep on emphasizing these 3 points apart from many other things. One is, they say, leveling of food production and productivity during the last 10 to 15 years, and this is threatening the food and nutritional security of the country. That means our food productivity is not going up, it is leveling off, whereas our population is going up. There is a huge gap between the potential yield and the realized yield. Potential yield means if a good variety is there, if you give all ideal conditions, it gives some yield. what the farmer is getting is the realized yield. Most of the time, the farmer will not get even 50% of the realized yield because of number of problems. And also they keep on emphasizing there is a need to increase food productivity using all available avenues. So they keep on emphasizing food productivity has to be increased. Now, those things, habitat degradation, use of pesticides and climate change, pollution, the chairman has been highlighting in the morning, is as bad or more intense when compared to Western countries in developing countries like India. So that means our habitat degradation is much more than what is happening in Western countries. If the pollinator population is going down in Western countries, definitely it is going down more drastically in our country when compared to Western countries. So it also is important, we have to increase food productivity in those crops which gives nutritional value, like fruits, pulses, oil crops, vegetables and so on. Now what is happening in the country now? We import 60% of our edible oil, costing 65,000 crores. This was 2016 data. We have spent 65,000 crores to import oil. Out of 20 million tons of our requirement of pulses, 20%, 4 million tons are imported. That means we are too far from self-sufficiency as far as oils and pulses are concerned. Only cereals we are self-sufficient. According to FAO, in 2015 report, 195 million undernourished people live in India. This is the number one problem, undernourished people, because that creates lots of diseases and that affects the health and status of the country. According to Global Hunger Strike, you know, there was a huge publicity in newspaper a few weeks back, 2017 Global Hunger Index. India is ranked 100 out of 190 nations. You can see what a tragedy. Even Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Nepal are better than India as far as nutritional status are concerned. So why I am telling all this is that it is inevitable. We have to increase the crop productivity, particularly to overcome this imbalance in nutrition. That is oil crops, pulse crops, legumes, vegetables and so on. Now, these are some of the crops in our country which we use routinely, and these are all, I don't go into all the naming, reading all that one. We have lots of crops which are pollinator dependent. That means the insects have to bring about pollination of these things. So unless, as I have been telling, unless there is adequate pollination, application of fertilizers or better agronomic practices will not improve crop yield. Now the question is there a pollination constraint in any of these crops which are routinely used and in our country and which is very important to sustain pollination? Unfortunately, we don't have any data at all. That is a tragedy. In Western countries, if there is such situation, immediately they will do research and they come up with what is happening. But we simply closed our eyes. Our agriculture scientists, they are conscious about climate change. They do a lot of other things, but pollination they don't seem to think at all. Okay, just 1 hour I will finish. I started at 11:05. I will finish 11:12:05. Yeah. Okay. Now, after searching all the literature, I find only 2 papers where there is a study of pollinators. One of them happens to be our own. One large cardamom, amomum, superlative. It's a very important crop in the northeast. Imagine until we worked out in 2005 to 2008 in research project, they did not know which is the pollinator of this important crop in northeast. Among superlative. And one fellow saw honeybees visiting this flower and he sent a publication, honeybees are the pollinator without checking. And our studies show honeybee is not a pollinator at all. And it is the bumblebee which is the effective pollinator. And also, when we studied the pollination efficiency, only 30% of the flowers get pollinated under natural conditions. And the 70% of the flowers will not get pollinated because the number of bumblebees which are present in the plantation is very few. So that means there is a pollination deficiency of large cardamom. If you increase the number of bumblebees, you can increase the productivity by 70% pollination efficiency. Now there is another paper I could find out on vegetables from Calcutta University. What they did was, they studied all fruit sites. In those plantations, in those fields where there was no honeybee, and another field where they kept on honeybee colony. Look at the difference. Increase in yield when the beehives are kept. In brinjal it was 28%, pointed gourd it was 38%, pumpkin it was 43%. That means these are important vegetables and there is serious pollination deficiency. Now the thing is, if we were to study many other crops, we may find similar things. Then, of course, here it's a straightforward. You try to keep some honeybee colonies and you can overcome pollination constraints. So unless we get the baseline data for all our crops, you can't come up with the suggestion what has to be done to sustain pollination service. Unfortunately, we don't have any data at all. So almost all our own, these are the only two. One is our own and the other is Calcutta University I have been able to get. So we have to have a lot of studies. Now I have been telling you about what Westerners are doing. Honeybee colonies for most of all their crop or bumblebee colonies for tomatoes. But in our country, because of one of the international agencies, apple is the only crop where honeybees colonies are kept for pollination services in Himachal Pradesh. No other crop there is a regular practice of keeping honeybee colonies because we don't even have the data whether they are required or not required, and if they are required, how many colonies have to be kept for optimal yield and so on. Now in China, they also, of course, apple is grown throughout Himalaya. In China, of course, apple is grown extensively. It seems they spray a lot of pesticides. So beekeepers refuse to rent honeybee colonies to these apple growers because when they get back the honeybee colonies, the number of honeybee colonies remain will be very low because most of them will die because of the pesticide effect. So what they do to sustain pollination service, this is what they do. They carry out manual pollination of apple to sustain pollination service. So, because time is out, in Indian Council of Agricultural Research, that is the nodal agency, they have to take care that pollination, the basic studies are done and so on. And last February there was a genetic agriculture science congress in Bangalore, and they had arranged one satellite meeting on pollination. And they invited me to be a co-chairperson and I was happy to be a member and I gave a lecture there. And as I told you today, I try to emphasize what is the importance of pollination in our crop species, something has to be done. And I also identified these are some things which have to be immediately initiated. Initiate effective monitoring of pollinators in agricultural ecosystems, study pollination efficiency in pollinator-dependent crops in space and time, initiate research and extension programs on the use of managed pollinators to pollinate dependent species if found necessary, make farmers and beekeepers aware of the importance of pollination and the managed pollinators in crop activity because our farmers as well as beekeepers, they are not knowledgeable about these things. Then more importantly, why agriculture scientists are not keen about pollination or aware? Because nowhere they have been taught about pollination. In fact, in most of the conventional universities also, if you see their syllabi, you don't find pollination at all in most of them, although it is such an important thing. So in agricultural university is more important that they have to be aware of the importance of pollination, but they don't study pollination. So I said, introduce basic aspects of pollination in the curriculum of agricultural universities, support beekeeping industry by establishing research laboratories and providing incentives for beekeepers. And then of course, at the end of the Science Congress, they brought out one page, Bengaluru Declaration. That means to recommend what has to be done, how out of this Science Congress, what points emerge. Then to my disappointment, the word pollination was not there at all in those Bengaluru Declaration. So that is the fail. So the conclusion is, unless serious efforts are initiated urgently to sustain pollination services of our pollinator-dependent crops, it is going to be difficult even to sustain existing level of crop productivity, leave alone increasing the crop productivity. So I hope if any of you get into research and if you have a chance of selecting your problem, try to be conscious about the need for pollination and see whether you can do something at your end. Thank you very much. Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Sivana. He has explained the application of pollination. மகரந்த சேர்க்கை தான் உங்க பாடத்திட்டத்துல பண்ணி இருக்கிறாங்க. ஆனா இந்த மகரந்த சேர்க்கையை அக்ரிகல்ச்சர்ல, விவசாயத்துல எங்க எப்படி உபயோகப்படுத்தணும், எப்படி எல்லாம் நம்ம அந்த பாலினேஷனை ரிசர்ச் பண்ணணும் அப்படிங்கிறத நிறைய எடுத்து காமிச்சிருக்கிறாங்க. என்னுடைய எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸை சொல்றேன். 1960 மலேசியாவில் எங்க அப்பா சம்பாதிச்ச தோட்டத்தில் ரப்பர் மரம் இருந்துச்சு. ரப்பர் மரத்தை வெட்டிட்டு ஆயில் பாம் போட்டோம். 1960 பாலினேஷன் மகரந்த சேர்க்கை செய்யறதுக்கு தினம் டெய்லி 3 or 4 laborers will collect the pollen from the male flowers and then keep it in an incubator. Next day they will take it and pollinate it in the female flower, one tree after the other. The tree will be about 20 feet. So he has to climb up. Lot of problems, labor problems, could not do it. So we thought it will not be possible to grow oil palm in 1960 in Malaysia. But that challenge was taken up and people brought weevil, a small insect, Posumari, small insect from Indonesia, and they spread it in oil palm estate. It has done the pollination work which was used by us by manual labor. So, pollination was effective with the aid of weevil, and the weevil was brought from Indonesia to Malaysia, and then it was successful. அப்போ இந்த வீவலை யாரு கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்க? வீவல்னு ஒண்ணு இருக்குது. That weevil is important for pollination. Yes, that was identified by some scientists, and then they took and spread it in Malaysia. Like that, in botany, you have to ask your teachers to frame the syllabus in such a way that every topic is application oriented. Every topic is application oriented. Pollination, when you study pollination, you have to go to the field. I am growing oil palm in 30 acres at Puthanampatti. How many of you have gone to the field? And have you identified the weevil which is pollinating in the field there? Can you use it for some other purpose also? So these are the application-oriented studies. I request the students to be very cautious in future and ask for change in the syllabus in such a way that it is application-oriented. Thank you, thank you.
Pointed government.
What?
Pointed government.
Point?
Pointed government. Vegetable.
No, vegetable pointer god. Yeah. All the gods require pollination because as you know most of the cooker bits, male and female flowers are different. So unless insect has to take the pollen grain from female flowers, male flowers and put it on the stigma. I don't know, maybe I didn't hear her properly. Can anybody else tell what exactly she wants? Was that my correct answer or your question was different? I don't know. Can
She's asking the
somebody?
vernacular name of the plant.
Huh?
She's asking the vernacular name of the plant.
Which plant?
Pointed plant.
Then you may be able to tell her.
Trichosanthes.
Okay, okay, he will tell
Black
us.
book and paste.
Okay.
Insects are all the insecticides. Using insecticides, farmers are getting and insecticides, the harmful insects are affected the crops and they go to damage the plants. When we use the insecticides, the beneficial insects also possible. So what is the solution for this?
Okay. The question was, if you don't use insecticide, there are lots of insect will damage the crop. Already the fruits will attack and so on. Whereas if you don't use insecticide, then the pollinators may be happy, but then the fruits will be attacked. That's what your question, right? Okay. Now, in general, fortunately,
Programs.
most of the pollinators do not damage the insects, fruit or the plants. They don't attack fruits or anything. They only come for nectar. Most of them, they depend only on nectar and pollen. They don't take anything else. And in fact, now in Western countries, lots of papers are coming to say even when you use managed honeybees in the field, they don't complete pollination effectively. In fact, whatever pollination managed honeybees do and whatever pollination native honeybees do supplement each other. They don't replace one another. So now in Western countries the trend is to have an integrated pollination system. That means they are trying to make those agricultural trees eco-friendly by using less pesticide. And also providing lot of nesting sites for the wild bees. They can be nesting sites or they can be natural nesting sites. Because unless the nesting sites are there, these native bees will not remain there, they will go somewhere else. So they are using a sort of an integrated pollination system in which they are encouraging the multiplication of the native pollinators. At the same time, wherever it is necessary, they use these managed pollinators. Of course, there has to be, you can't. Hand pollination. How to pass? What is the say? China introduced. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
How it is possible?
Yeah. The thing is, you can never discourage Chinese because what? No, I showed you the photographs. Every member of the family in the morning. It is because what do they collect If you want to go to internet and find out how exactly it is here. If it is self-compatible, then you keep on power and touch these anchors to the stigma. But sometimes it is self-incompatible. Then you have to collect the pollen grains from one plant. There are methods of collecting. Then you take pollen grains to the other plant, and then by a stick or something, you take the pollen grains. It can be a matchstick, it can be a toothpick. You dip it and put it on the stick. So that is because it is only thing is it is time consuming, and those people are managing.
Such a distinguished scientist. He has told you elaborately on pollination biology. I was trying to give some other talk, but then I decided, as Professor Shivana was giving the talk, that I changed my talk. Firstly, knowing that all of you or most of you are BSc students of botany, correct? Yes or no? Or maybe biotechnology or maybe microbiology. So first of all, let me now introduce my talk by thanking the very perceptive chairman that you have got here. In fact, after his talk, he told so much about oil palm that I never knew that a person who is a chairman of this college will know so much amount of information on pollination of oil palm. And hats off to your chairman. Also, for another reason, that in the beginning, when he came to inaugurate, he actually was apologetic that we did not begin the meeting on time. I think that shows the greatness of the gentleman. And all of you who are studying this college are truly privileged to have a chairman who is so sensitive to timekeeping and who is knowledgeable despite his background being engineering. So I want to pay my respects to your chairman. The slide is not clear, unfortunately. I don't know what is the problem with the projection or the system. Your beautiful faces I wanted to capture. All of you are so beautiful, but it doesn't appear to be so on the screen. I'm so sorry, I have not done anything. There's a transmission loss in the beauty. Correct? And also boys, you all look very handsome, but look what's happened that day. Huh? So, I don't know, madam, is there some problem? Huh? Because if this is the case, we can't do a good talk. What is the problem? Huh? Can we shut that light please a little bit, the screen? Can we move it manually a little bit? Can you move this manually? But even with light also, there is a problem. Okay, we have to manage a little bit. The screen projection series on the top, picture if you now look at, I don't know who's the hero, heroine of this era. If you see a hero, heroine of that era so badly, you will like the storyline. Huh? Obviously no. See, this man does obviously no. He wants to see the movie in real life, full clarity. Okay. Anyway, let's come back to my talk. I am really not going to stick to this emerging vistas in plant sciences. We can talk lots and lots about that. My job here is slightly different. My job here is to see at the end of my 45 minutes talk, not 1 hour talk, not half an hour talk, can I in some way ignite the minds of students sitting here and you coming back to me saying, oh my God, what am I doing? I should have been doing so many more things in my BSc Botany degree program. That is the message I want to give. Are you with me? Punja, I can speak Tamil because I am from Tamil Nadu. Punja, incidentally, just to connect with you, my what you call family deity is not very far away from here. It's a place called Gurushilam. in Trichy. And I come originally from Coimbatore, but I've never stayed in Tamil Nadu. Unfortunately, that's the reason why my Tamil is so bad. So I won't sort of go ahead and even speak few sentences, lest you will laugh. Let me take you to some examples, 3-4 examples. Essentially, my talk is about examples. Example number 1 is a slide of this sort. Again, the slides are very bad in the screen. And in this slide, what do you see in this slide? What do you see? A car which is terribly wrongly parked, isn't it? Look here. All of the cars are parked properly, but this car is nearly falling off. And what I've written is, have you ever wondered why men are good at some job while women are not? Correct, isn't it? Will all of you agree? Girls? Huh? No. Why? Please. This talk is going to be interactive. Someone told no. I agree. Very, very much I agree with whoever told no. I want to sort of appreciate and congratulate in public. So can you actually tell who told no here? Which person told no? Solomon, who told no? Huh? Someone told no, no? Whoever has told no is correct.
Sir, all the girls are not accepting.
All the girls are not. Very good. So you are the spokesperson for the girls.
Yes, sir.
So why are you not agreeing, madam?
So maybe that mistake may be committed by either a single woman. That is not a...
Or even, I will support you, not a woman. This mistake must have been committed by a man, and this woman is really looking at the work. Isn't it?
Yes, of course.
See, your madam is telling so correctly. Now the question is, she is very right. If I put the sentence saying, have you ever wondered, look here, madam, I would have tossed the sentence this way. Have you ever wondered why women are good at some job while men are not? You would have agreed?
Yes, of course.
So, there's the same sentence flip-flop, and both of us agree and also disagree at the same time. Now, this lady, who is an Indian lady, she did a PhD from IIT Delhi. Silence please. Okay. This lady did a PhD from IIT Delhi. Today she is an assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania, USA. Okay? And she was interested in this question. There are some jobs which men are horribly at. There are some jobs where women are horribly incapable or don't do it. The question is, she asked, can I find out the reason why men are good at some jobs and women are good at some other jobs? All of you will agree with the statement? Okay? And then, what she did is, she decided to take a scan of the brain of a set of men and a set of women. About 428 men and 521 women. Brain scan means you don't have to dissect the brain. You can actually scan using certain sort of MRIs. You can scan the brain. And she asked, is there any peculiarity of the neural connections that go on in the brain of a male compared to that of a female? That's all. And it can be done anywhere in any reasonably, I would say moderately equipped laboratory, hospital, anywhere in Trichy or someplace you can do this one. And she did this and then she found something. Let us look at that. These are the two images of brains. One of them belongs to a typical woman, the other belongs to a typical man, and what you have to do and guess is which of these two brains belong to a woman and which of course belongs to a man. Artha answer the question hai? Very simple question. Whether this belongs to a male or this belongs to a male. So let us vote on this one. Which brain belongs to a man or to a woman? First of all, what is this I would like to tell? These small blue dots are the foresight. They are the nucleus of connections. This we can call as a neural foresight. And all the strands that you see that comes out of an MRI imaging are the neural circuitries that connect one foci to the other and so on and so forth, one foci to the other and so on and so forth. And what you see in these two brains is, in one of the brains, the circuitry is mostly branched within one of the hemispheres, the left hemisphere or the right hemisphere. In another brain, there's a lot of crosstalk between the left and the right hemisphere. Now, shall we take a call on this? Most of you are still not gotten up from your, morning, whatever, sleep. I'll ask you to vote now. How many of you will raise your hands to say that this brain belongs to woman? Raise your hands. Only one boy raises his hand. Okay. That means the rest of you say that it does not belong to a woman. Now let me put it more clearly. How many of you say that this brain belongs to a woman? So few. But many of you are not raising hands for either of them. What happened to you? You have to participate. I'm doing this vote again. The videographer is going to take a photo of all of you. If I don't see 90% of the hands raised, no more academy program to this college. Yes, sir? Academy wants all of the students to interact. If I simply ask a question, none of you are answering, that means you are not interested. And so why should Academy waste time? Why should we come and waste time and speak to you? Meenakshi, no more program here. Now, I am going to ask this question again. How many of you say that this brain belongs to a man? Raise your hand. Okay, I am going to ask you this. How many of you say that this brain belongs to a man? Finally some. Okay, very good. Excellent. At least 30% of the audience have woken up. Now, can any one of you who raised their hands to say that this brain belongs to a man, get up please? I saw you. Get up, madam. Now, the question to you is, first of all, what's your name? Huh? Divya. Divya, why did you say that this brain belongs to a man? Tamil solluva. இதுக்கு மைக் இருக்கா?
மூளையில இருக்க நரம்பு முடிச்சுகள் அதுல கம்மியா இருக்கனால சொன்னேன்.
என்ன சொல்ற? மூளை மூளை
அந்த நரம்போட முடிச்சுகள் வந்து கம்மியா இருக்கு, கவுண்ட் கம்மியா இருக்கனால அதுன்னு சொல்லி.
இது கவுண்ட் கம்மியா இருக்கா? இல்ல இந்த கனெக்ஷன் எப்படி இருக்குன்னா? கவுண்ட் அப்போ எங்க மூளை கம்மியா இருக்குமா? கொஞ்சம் ப்ராப்ளம். Okay. One more volunteer to give an answer. Why you think this is man and that is woman? Any other? Madam, you want to say?
Women always used to think out of the box.
And so?
So there is a crisscross pattern observed in the brain.
Madam, what's your name?
Abhirami.
Abhirami. We should all give a very, very sound applause to First of all those who raise their hands are on the dot right. This brain belongs to man and that brain belongs to woman. And I don't know what Divya told, if I understood right, probably she's saying that the number of neural connections are less. Actually, the neural connections are not as many as if you now count the blue and the red, blue and the green spots. Am I echoing, please? No echo, isn't it? But then, To say that this belongs to a woman is probably right because as Abhirami Madam told, there's lots of cross connectivity, there's crosstalk between the left and the right hemisphere of our brain in the case of women, and probably that's one reason why women are better in multitasking than men are, and that is very well known, isn't it? That is, a woman can at one time do a lot of job, whereas a man can't. And so look at the result. This is what the lady who discovered this found, that this is the typical brain of a woman and that is a typical brain of a man, where the neural circuitry are crisscrossed in the woman and not as much that in the man. And the reason could therefore be, this could be the reason why a woman does so many jobs at one time, whereas a man can do only one. And that is best given in this cartoon, that she can at the same time iron the clothes, do this, feed that, do that, and all of that. If you ask a man to do, he'll probably put the child in the pot and make a mess of the food, isn't it? Huh? Man is like a boss. So, are you all happy with this example? This was published in 2009. Until 2009, we did not know what is the neural basis of the work speciality of woman versus man. And this was discovered by an Indian lady in US who did a PhD from IIT Delhi. This is one story I want to give you. I'll give you another example. These examples have a meaning at the end of the day. The second example that I would like to give you is about cigarettes. This is something not very nice to look at in the screen, isn't it? Are you all with me? Now let us look at it. Often we find the cigarette butts on the roadside, near the bus stand and so on and so forth. And you have these birds coming in and looking at the cigarette butts and says to itself, shall I take it or shall I not? And this bird is like the rest of the 70% of you students here. What? It is very shy. It does not want to take a call. It does not want to do anything. It just thinks about the cigarette butt and then probably goes away. But another bird comes along who's like the 30% of the people who raise their hands, bold, and saying, come on, let me try taking the cigarette butt. And so what it does is, it actually takes the cigarette butt in its beak. What does the bird do with the cigarette butt in its beak? Next.
Keep in its nest.
Huh?
It keeps in its nest.
It keeps in its nest. Why? Okay, good.
Birds used to keep cigarettes in its nest.
It keeps the cigarette butt in its nest. Very good. What's your name? Sindhuja. Good. Very good. Excellent. It probably goes and keeps the cigarette butt in its nest, just like these girls now put in pencils on their head, isn't it? Why would a bird do that strange thing of putting the cigarette butt in its nest? Anyone else would like to give an answer? What you said is right. So, let us look at that. That is what the cigarette, that's what the bird does with the cigarette butts, right? Why would the bird do that? You're all students of science, isn't it? In science, what are the questions we normally ask? What are the questions normally you are asked in science? How does the heart pump blood? Okay? Right? And second type of question is, how is one? Another is why. Why something happens? Why is something happening the way it is happening? So you ask normally two types of questions, the how and the why. I am not asking the question, why does a bird, why does a bird put the cigarette butt in its nest? Any reason? As students of botany, as students of science, you need to reason out things, no? It could be wrong, but let's get one or two reasons from the audience.
A defense mechanism.
Huh?
A defense mechanism
Very good. Against what?
from the predators.
Whose predator?
The bird's predator.
The bird's
Either
predator.
The snake or something.
Very good. So the snake or some other predator or bird will be put away if there is this buds in the nest. Why would that happen?
The
Smell. Very good. Again, I think you're a gold medal student, right?
obviously.
Wow. I guessed very rightly. Let's give a big clap. Fantastic answer. What she said is, on the dot again. She says that the birds put the cigarette butt in the nest only to keep the predator away, like snakes or whatever. But in this case, it doesn't so happen to be snakes as much as what you see in the screen. Now, I'll put this one. When birds are young, these young birds don't have the plumage. You know what the plumage is? Feathers. They're nearly naked. The skin is tender, delicate. At that time, these birds, they have these ectoparasites that go on and suck the blood out of these fledglings. What happens is, when you have too many ectoparasites on you, sometimes the fledglings become very, very weak, and in extreme cases they also die. But what this graph shows you is, if you have on the x-axis more number of cigarette butts in the nest, the number of ectoparasites that are attracted to the nest is very, very less, as there are more number of cigarette butts. So more the cigarette butts, there's a preference to the ectoparasite. They don't go to the nest. If there are no cigarette butts, there are lots of ectoparasites stacked up in the bird's nest. So the moral of the story is, the mother bird somehow knows that if I pick up the cigarette bud and put in my nest, I can keep my young ones healthy, safe, without being affected by the ectoparasite. And so the moral of the story is, if you have bedbugs in your house or some other mite problem in your house, what should you do? Buy a cigarette and put it on your bed. You can now sleep nicely. Yes or no? Huh? It is indeed. The birds are doing that. Why not us? But this was an important discovery made from a very small observation. What was that observation? The observation is, why do birds pick up the buds and put it into the nest? Again, the reason for me to give this example is, I'll come to that in a couple of minutes away or maybe 5 minutes away. It's very important to keep this example in your mind. I'm giving you 2 examples already. I'll give the last and the third example to show and to demonstrate what I'm now trying to put across as students of science, what needs to be done, especially if you're now doing science in a manner different from the regular teaching of science that goes on in colleges. Now let's take another example. My third example is a very popular example. Dr. Rao has seen it earlier, Professor Shivan has also seen it earlier. This concerns the lotus plants that are floating on a pool of water. And I have been interested with this example for many, many years now, for the simple reason that all of you know, lotus, what is it called in Tamil? Tamarai. It is very clean, has a very clean surface. It's so clean that the people say that if you go to any marriage, instead of plantain leaf, if you were to be given food on a lotus leaf, what happens? You don't have to clean the lotus leaf, because you can't clean the lotus leaf more than what it is already clean. You followed? That means there's nothing that can now dirty a lotus leaf. It is so, so clean. Question is, how? I already asked the question, why in the previous one? In this example I'm asking, how do the lotuses keep the leaf so clean? Any answer for this question? Again, you may be wrong. In science, when you start doing science, not necessarily all the time you should be correct. you will have to make mistakes. You will make mistakes, but that mistakes now leads you to the path of success, at least at some time in your quest for reaching up to the answer, isn't it? So how do lotuses keep them clean? Any suggestion? Blank faces? Except Abhirami, I won't allow you to answer the question. Anyone else? Idea, some idea. See, we want to encourage you to know, interact. Otherwise I can tell the answer in 1 minute and then we can go ahead, isn't it? Any other? Very good. What's your name? Perumal gives a good answer. He says it is clean because wax is present on the lotus leaf, and so anything you put on the lotus leaf, it simply flows away. Correct, Perumal? Except one problem, Perumal. Many other plants also contain waxes, but they are not as clean as lotus. Many other plants also contain epicuticular waxes. If you simply dip a leaf in chloroform, you can get the wax out. But they are not as clean as lotus. So your answer may not be completely right. Correct? No problem, no problem. Sit down. Any other answer? Science, in science, you do science by a thing called theory of exclusion. So lotus leaf, he says, is clean because of cuticular waxes. But I told there are other plants containing waxes. So you have excluded wax, and now you have to think about another reason that makes lotus leaves clean without invoking the reason of only wax. What could be the other reason? We don't know? Huh? It is in the water surface. But what I am saying is, you put any other plant in the water, they will not be as clean as lotus. They will become dirty. You can throw ink on a lotus leaf, all flows away. You can throw gum on a lotus leaf, all the gum flows away. You can put paint on a lotus leaf, nothing sticks on a lotus leaf. That is why in Chinese philosophy, the ultimate symbol of purity is lotus, not flower, lotus leaf. Ultimate symbol of purity in Chinese philosophy is a lotus leaf, because it remains pure, uncontaminated by anything around it. Alright. So, this guy, a professor in Germany, who is curator of the botanical garden in the University of Bonn in Germany, was interested in this one, and he went about excluding this reason, that reason, and so on and so forth. And finally, did one thing. What he did was, he took a lotus leaf and took a small section of the lotus leaf. Since we are talking about vistas in plant sciences, I want to mention here that sometimes you have to go beyond just our naked eye observation. You use microscope, okay? You use so many other ways of increasing the resolution of your image. In this case, he put a small section of the lotus leaf under a scanning electron micrograph. You know what a SEM is. Some of you may use an SEM sometime in your research when you come to masters or PhD level. So the scanning electron micrograph scans the image, surface image of a material, and then zooms it up through extraordinarily very high magnification. We will not go into the levels of magnification, where you can now see what is the surface property, and the surface property of that leaf is, look at it, very, very uneven. It is not smooth. The lotus leaf is not smooth at all. For naked eye, it appears very smooth. It is actually not smooth, and it's so sort of invaginated as you see here. In fact, if you now look at this picture, and if I ask you this question, if I take a bottle of water and throw it on the lotus leaf, will water stay here or will flow away? It will stay, isn't it? Why? Water will get collected into this valleys, isn't it? Water is going to collect, and if the water contains impurities, it's going to stick into these valleys, because there are valleys and hills on a lotus leaf. But we know, I just now told you that nothing sticks onto a lotus leaf, isn't it? So, question is, what's happening? our lotus leaves are like many of our roads. There are lots of potholes, and when rain comes or when some flood comes, water is sticking onto the potholes. Similarly, in this case, water should sort of stay here, but what you see is not. So there is still something to be solved. So what was done? A very simple experiment to see what's happening. Please look at this animation. It's a very interesting animation for students of botany. I have a message to tell you also. But let us first look at this part of this slide. This is a leaf of any plant, whatever plant that is growing outside outside of this auditorium and can pluck. Incline it at about 25 degrees centigrade, angle from this horizontal surface, and then put some dirt material here. The dirt material could be chalk dust or small tiny pieces of paper. Then take an ink filler and drop a drop of ink. What you see here is the drop loses the sphericity, and as it flows down by gravity, it fails to drag the dirt material away from the lotus, away from the leaf, that is any other plant leaf. However, if you pay attention to this part, what happens? The ink drop is spherical, and then as it moves, it takes the dirt material along with it, and so your lotus leaf is always clean. No matter what you put, it simply rolls off. And this is because of the property imparted to the lotus leaf by this very special sort of structure that you see on the lotus leaf. Why is this lotus leaf not mimicking a road which is badly potholed? If you bring the potholes very close to each other and make the potholes microscopic, then no water will stay in our roads. So the imaginations that you see in a lotus leaf is arranged at a nano dimension. At that nano dimension, what happens? The lotus leaf avoids the water balls to stick to the leaf. You know, a water molecule, or rather water, will stick to the surface by forces of adhesion. On the lotus leaf, the forces of adhesion are very, very small, and so the ball of water really becomes very spherical. And one way of quantifying, students of biology or botany should also do quantification. Here the quantification is, if the angle made by the sphere to the surface is greater than 150 degrees, that theta is greater than 150 degrees, any object that makes water molecule attain an angle greater than 150 degrees is called super hydrophobic surface. If I pour water on this floor here, water will spread. The theta will not be 150, it will be maybe 20, 30, 40. This is not super hydrophobic. It's not hydrophobic at all. If I put water on a film of oil, again the water molecule will not attain an angle of 150, it will be about 110 or 120, you know, because oil is hydrophobic. But now the lotus leaf do something miraculously different. They behave as a super oily surface without having any oil. And that super hydrophobicity is because of the structure of the lotus leaf that you saw here. Right? So now, look at this discovery. This morning your chairman told, make discoveries that have got applications. Now this was pure basic discovery that this person in Bonn made, and the application of it was very, very clear to them. What is that? If I have a surface that is like a lotus leaf, that is this one, I don't have to bother to clean. Just if I throw water, the entire dirt is going to come away. Right? And so what happened? This person, the discoverer of this knowledge of the lotus leaf surface, remember, you can all Google the story. This discovery that the lotus leaf has such a property, such a surface, he was so mighty excited by it. He went to his principal or vice chancellor in the university and told the vice chancellor, so I have made a very important discovery. Can we patent this from the University of Bonn? So I'm going to tell what the Vice Chancellor told after asking you a question. How many of you think that this is a great discovery to have been made? Can you raise your hand? Now that you're used to raising hands. Or how many of you think it's not a big discovery to talk about? Raise your hands. Either way. You followed or not followed my question? If you follow the question, you have to raise your hand for either of the question I asked. So you can't simply keep your hand down. If you keep your hand down, that means you are deaf. You are not listening to my question. How many of you feel this is an exciting discovery? 3 only, 4, 5, 6. More hands. I am almost like a politician asking you for supporting my example. Raise your hands, raise your hands. See, if you are not excited, no, you should not be in the field of science. Because, as Professor Rao will mention later, or any speaker who comes here from academy will mention here, if you want to do science, you have to have the gene for getting excited and thrilled about the discovery. If you don't get excited, you are not a candidate for doing science. Really, I'm at the point of being a little crude and rude. I would say unless you get excited by discoveries, you can't go ahead and do science. So this guy went up to his Vice Chancellor and told his Vice Chancellor, "Sir, I think I've made a remarkable discovery. Can the university patent it?" The Vice Chancellor told, "Oh no, it's not such a big discovery." And he was probably like all of you. He was unmoved by this discovery. But this discoverer, Professor Bartlett, was so kicked by this discovery, he decided, let me patent this discovery on my own. So he went home and told his wife a very simple small sentence. "Honey, can you give me money?" Why? To patent, you need money. And so when the Vice Chancellor did not give him money, he went to his ATM in the house, that is his wife. And so he asked his wife, "Honey, can you give me money?" And honey, of course, got him money from her two other ATMs, that is mother and father, his in-laws. And with that money, he patented this technology. And look, after 3 years of patenting the technology, what happened was, a wallpaper company in Germany bought this technology to mimic the wallpapers in Europe. You normally put wallpapers. To mimic the wallpaper, have a lotus effect. And so when the wallpaper gets dirty, all that you do is splash water on that, and as the water drips down, the dirt material is carried forward. Second, there's a very, very major automobile company in Germany called Mercedes-Benz. So all the windshields of Mercedes-Benz now mimic the lotus leaf surface, and so when you throw water or when it rains, the drop of water or rain carries away the dust particles. You don't have to scrub them. And he became billionaire overnight, literally overnight, through a simple discovery of botany. Except that no botany courses in the country teach you what is called as bioengineering or biomimetic engineering or biomimicry. How much can we discover of the surface properties, material science, so much richness embedded? Why can't students become energized in studying all of these things? Now, I have a small video that shows you the power of this one. This discovery went on to make a company which is today ranked as a very, very big company. You can download it from the Google. It's called Ultra Dry Company. Ultra Ever Dry. Next slide. I can go on and anyone to help me sort of knock at the, yeah. I need to sort of, where's the keyboard here? This keyboard? Okay, there's no sound there, but you can now simply go to Ultra Ever Dry and you can actually play it at your home. I'll just show you for 2 minutes, it's a 4 minutes video. Okay, there is someone in it. So this entire thing, what you see in the next 2 minutes is completely lift off from the lotus leaf surface. that shows you how beautifully things can be done. This surface here is painted with the lotus property. Nothing sticks here, whereas everything sticks on the other side. Take this nuts or screws, nothing sticks to that one. This example is amazing. There are two gloves. Nothing. Absolutely remarkable. All that has been done is the lotus surface property is mimicked on the surface. One more. This property of lotus. Now are you all excited? Yes or no? Okay. I promise to you that I will not take a minute more than 45 minutes. In fact, it's less than 45 minutes now. I just noted that my time is 1:24. I'll finish off my talk in 5 minutes. I'll cut my talk short. What is common to these examples that you just now saw? One was that example, another was from this, yet another was from the nicotine, cigarette butts. What is the message I want to give from these three examples? It's not very many examples. Three messages. One message is all these stories that we have just now told, which have impacted in the last 5-10 years various developments in biology, come about by a simple matter of observation. Someone observing that, someone observing that, someone observing that. Isn't it? As students of science, we need a very keen sense of observation. Whatever you study, whatever you listen, whatever you actually sort of go through, I think we need to make clear observations on that. After that, after observing, what's the difference between a scientist and non-scientist? All of us observe, isn't it? But what's the essential difference between a scientist and a non-scientist? A scientist, he stays put at what he's observing and then asks a question about that observation, whereas a non-scientist may not ask a question. And that's all the difference between a scientist and non-scientist. So a scientist would now stand there and step in and ask, oh, why is this happening or how is this happening? Correct? And if you do that with certain degree of perseverance, what will happen is, you will create new knowledge. That is what is the essence of all scientific discovery. All science goes by first an observation, Second, asking questions on that observation. And third, creating new knowledge. I will end my talk by actually giving an example of a very example that will be close to your heart, because the student who is a participant in this example comes from Tamil Nadu, especially from a college of engineering, I think from Satyamangalam. Her name is Ganapriya. Some years ago, she came to my lab in Bangalore and asked me, she is a student of biotechnology, then she was a student of biotechnology. She asked me, sir, can I do a project in biotechnology in your lab? I told, okay. And a student of biotechnology, she wanted to know work on something which is molecular. We would do molecular biology, but at that time, I had enough number of students doing some work. I told, look, Ganapriya, you have no chance to do a molecular biology project. Can you do something else? She told, no, sir. But finally she relented, and I told her a story of these birds which I observed in a village near Mysore. We will not bother with the details for want of time. Now, what is the observation? The observation is this. These birds, they are called painted storks. Each day, what they do is, the nest is built here, and each day they throw away the material from the nest and refurnish newer leaves into the nest each day, so that the young ones are happy and taken care of. The question I asked Ganapriya was, Ganapriya, do the birds know what sort of species of plant or twigs to bring into the nest, or do they do it randomly? You follow what I'm saying? Clear? Do they do it randomly, just go around and get something, or do they do it non-randomly so that they have a preference of what plants to now get into? So the question is, do the twigs carried by these birds have any significance? So what did Ganapriya do? Ganapriya went with another student to this village. She was a girl like any of you girls sitting here. She went to the village, stayed up in the village for 1 full week, and after 1 full week, what she did was, she took photograph of all these birds coming in with this twig in their mouth or beak. She did the images of that, taxonomically identified what the species are, and found out whether, through some statistics, whether they carry something non-randomly, significantly more frequently than others, and found that they tend to carry one species of plant, the twigs of one species of plant more often than they carry any others. And that species is a plant called Thespesia poplinea, which is a Malvaceae member. And I know of only 2 species of plant that gives yellow latex. I may be ignorant of others. One is Thespesia, another is Cosmium fenestratum. Now, one discovery was made that the birds somehow always go for this Thespesia and no other plant, though other plants are around in that area. Why is it and what is the significance? She found that the Thespesia leaves actually a very, very potent ectoparasitic compound, that is, they now remove the ectoparasite from the birds, and obviously the mother birds knows that if I now pack the nest with leaves from Thespesia poplinea, I can lessen the load of ectoparasite on the fledgling, just like the nicotine, the cigarette butt did the job in the earlier example. Now this discovery later was found to be endorsed by the Siddha system of medicine, where they show that this plant is in fact used in Siddha system medicine for skin diseases. When she now published this work, she got the best project award from a BTech program in her engineering college. Not only that, she was offered a job in a company in Chennai called Kevin Care, which specializes in phytochemistry and phytochemical compounds of significance in cosmetic usage. Look at the small story of how a girl from Satyamangalam College of Engineering came to my lab. But why did this discovery happen? This discovery happened because she had in her to wonder is to discover. If you don't wonder, how are you going to discover? How are you going to make any good of any knowledge that is important to you in such training program? So I would like to stop here to tell you that if you are going to be good scientist, first of all, the 3 mantras of good science is observation. Can you repeat? Observation. Then second, ask questions. Third is new knowledge. This is all very simple. Observation, ask questions and new knowledge. And you can become very good scientist, original scientist in your own regard. I have a lot more things to tell because of want of time. I'll cut short here. And I'll just sort of skip all of them to tell you something at the very end of the story. This guy, I want to leave you with this example. He is Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone. I also thought he only invented the telephone until I read his biography, and I was amazed that this guy was not just the inventor of telephone, but what all he went to do in one life. Look at it. And I draw the inspiration from him. Alexander Graham Bell contributed to the following things. He developed the first modern kites. He developed the first modern, whatever we can call, airplanes. Sheep breeding. He developed techniques of sheep breeding. Where is sheep breeding and where is telephone? He developed the first desalinization plant in the world that can remove salt from saline water. He developed the first water distillation set. And when his son lost his life because he was drowning, he could not save the son's life because at that time there was no artificial respirator, that is ventilator. He went on to develop the first artificial respiratory system that we call today ventilators in ICUs and other things, and all that by one person in one lifetime. He went on to tell just before his death, and that I would like you to now remember. And what did he say? He said, there cannot be mental atrophy. Mental atrophy means for our minds to die in any person who continues to observe, to remember what he observes, and to seek answers for his unceasing hows and whys about things. All that I have done is only this. These 3, 4 examples. I didn't want to give a big elaborate talk. All that I want to mention is, look, you are students of science. For the 3 years that you are doing your undergraduate here, you owe it to yourself. Forget everyone else. Forget what you are doing to society. You owe it to yourself to involve intensely in whatever you are studying, involve intensely into whatever you are observing, and simply follow this dictum. Observe, remember what you observe, and then seek answers about the whys and hows. Science is damn simple. And if you do this way, each one of you will have a eureka moment in your life. What's the eureka moment? You will have the eureka moment of joy that you have discovered. Anyone sitting here has discovered anything in your life so far? Anyone? Can you share? Anyone? Even a small thing is enough as a discovery. You are not talking about rocket launching here. No hands going up again? Anyone here? Not that you have given an answer, not that you have solved the problem, but at least discovering the problem itself is a discovery, isn't it? No? Okay. Afternoon I'll continue my talk and give you some more examples. Thank you for your time now. It's 1:45. Time for lunch.